Nearly a century ago, the Belgian surrealist René Magritte painted this famous portrait of a pipe, with its provocative message, "This is not a pipe." Poets, philosophers, art critics, and the viewing public have been arguing about this artwork ever since the paint dried. What is Magritte trying to tell us? It certainly looks like a pipe, but are you supposed to believe what the painting shows or what it says? Can both be true at the same time? Some say it is a painting about being more than a pipe, or being less than a pipe, or never being a pipe at all. As a result, the artwork and the fuss surrounding it have become a resilient meme all across our modern culture. Granted, the painting is no Sistine Chapel or Mona Lisa, but it does make you think about art, about the nature and meaning of reality, about coins? Well, sure, why not? Of course, this is not a coin. But is this? Well, no, it's a nice painting of a coin made in 1891. So is this the coin? Well, not really. It's a plaster cast made of a coin in 1984. This is a digital photograph of the actual coin. It's the closest I can take you to it, short of a field trip to Paris, where this masterpiece is on display. There and only there is this perhaps a coin, and not merely a representation of the coin in paint or pixels. Why only perhaps a coin? Because sitting in a museum, this hefty bit of gold cannot function as it was originally intended. It is no longer a circulating coin used for payments and savings. No one can spend it any more than they could pack Magritte's non-pipe and smoke it. But this clash between form and function, between reality and representation, goes even deeper with coins than with pipes. How many times has someone said, "This is the Emperor Nero"? But the last time anyone could actually say that was 1,957 years ago, when the emperor was still alive. This is just a photo of a coin showing an image of Nero made by an engraver in the Roman Mint who may never have seen the man himself. Yet strangely, many experts have treated this engraving as if it were an actual photograph of the emperor, and they have done the same thing for Alexander, Cleopatra, Augustus Caesar, and so on. That kind of thinking may seem as harmless as Magritte's pipe, but it can be dangerous if taken too far by someone who declares that these coin portraits prove just how wicked was Nero, how warlike was Alexander, how wanton was Cleopatra, or how wise was Augustus. The problem is that early on, numismatics inherited some ridiculous, even racist notions about physiognomy, the practice of judging someone's character and personality based solely on their outward appearance. For example, during the Renaissance, it was widely believed that humans bearing any resemblance to an animal must behave just like that creature. Thus, if a person had features like a lion, then he or she must be ferocious and brave. If like a deer, then jittery and fearful by nature. If like an eagle, then lofty and a lover of freedom. If like a mule, then stubborn and lazy. Huge differences between personalities may hinge upon subtleties, such as a nose that makes you bold, or its twin that renders you into a chicken. The Francis Galton, the misguided founder of modern eugenics, used coin portraits to diagnose the intelligence and character of ancient people. Claiming to work scientifically, he began by sorting ancient women into categories of beauty. For example, describing Cleopatra as, quote, not only plain, but to an ordinary English taste, simply hideous, unquote, while her female counterparts in Rome were, quote, singularly beautiful with a charming, ideal profile. You can find this brand of prejudice in the work of one of Galton's most famous disciples, the so-called father of scientific archaeology, Sir William Flinders Petrie. And here you see his chart of racial intelligence based on facial features, which he published in 1902. Notice that he and his fellow Englishmen are the smartest, followed by the French. The ancient Egyptians and the Romans come next. He ranked such peoples as the Australians and Eskimos as the least intelligent because they did not look like him. When you combine unscientific prejudice with the notion that coins preserve photo-like images of ancient persons, you end up with lots of numismatic nonsense. Take this iconic image of Alexander the Great on a coin minted by one of his successors. Inspired by the ideas of Galton and others, one numismatist gushed that the face on this coin is a fine example of manly beauty and may well be accepted as a reliable representation of that wonderful man. Yet this image has obviously been idealized by the conventions of its day, including large godlike eyes gazing upward, not to mention the physiognomic miracle of horns sprouting from Alexander's head. Another numismatist insisted that the shapes of heads, noses, and chins on Bactrian coins demonstrate the gradual racial decline of Alexander's Macedonian settlers, who steadily lost their so-called purity through intermarriage with local women. I have no idea what sort of degeneration he sees in these coins. In any case, this is art, not ancient photography. I would ask anyone trying to diagnose character, intelligence, and personality from such images to decide which of these coin portraits of King Eucratides represents the real man. If you're going to determine everything based solely on a nose, ear, or chin, then which nose, ear, or chin is the correct one? Even slight variations make a huge difference to the judgmental physiognomist. But what's the real harm in reading so much into the faces on ancient coins? It is the insistence that these deductions are based on science, so much so that some historians write entire histories about these kings based on these assumptions alone. One expert at the British Museum said of this image of King Antimachus I, and I quote, "We have not only a vivid and accurate record of Antimachus's personal appearance, but also an unequaled suggestion of a personality in which strength of character is combined with a civilized skepticism and sense of humor. Such is the immediacy and impact of this superb head." Others write about this man's determination, his modesty, intelligence, or his coarseness, even though he remains nothing more than an image on a coin. It's all made up. So Magritte was right to make us think about reality versus representation. I'm Dr. Frank L. Holt, thanking you for sharing my ancient world. For your good deed of the day, why not subscribe, like, and share this content with others? And I'll see you here next time.